Following the recent drip marketing of our version 3.x characters, it has been confirmed that Lynae is going to be dropping in the first phase and Mornye will be dropping in the second phase of version 3.0. Design-wise, these characters do look great and I'm sure have already piqued a lot of players' interest, but with the fact they are going to be our version 3.0 characters alone should mean they will also hold a lot of value within their kits and may introduce a few new mechanics. So with that said, pulling both characters would be great for pretty much most accounts. But for some that isn't exactly going to be possible, and so with the fact we do have their attributes and weapon types confirmed, I'll be going over both characters' kit standouts / speculations, the sort of team versatility each character will hold, then I'll be wrapping it up with their overall value and who may benefit your account in particular the most. As always, if you are interested in more WutheringWaves content, would very much appreciate it if you could subscribe and drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Kicking this off with the first phase of 3.0, Lynae, as mentioned, is going to be the first resonator available and has been confirmed to be a Spectral Pistol character. As a Spectral resonator alone, and considering some of our recent characters, it doesn't leave much of a choice for Lynae but to be our newest Spectral DPS. Releasing another support straight after Chisa would be a bit too much, and considering Zani and Phoebe still remain to be amazing as our Spectral Frazzle duo, it does only make sense for Lynae to be more of a standard Spectral DPS that will specialize in dealing damage considered as either skill damage or basic attack damage or liberation damage. Now Spectral in specific is in a bit of a sticky situation in comparison to other attributes, since there still isn't a character that amplifies Spectral damage through their outro skill, which might then mean Lynae could be the first resonator able to amplify Spectral damage alongside another type of damage. Now if that happens to be the case, then it would mean Lynae is going to be more of a burst damage dealer and will be designed to play alongside another upcoming Spectral unit, which essentially means she will be capable of providing some support, but also depending on her damage output could still be utilized as a main DPS. It isn't going to be entirely clear till we are closer to her release, but again, since she is a 3.0 resonator, I'd imagine they will allow her to perform pretty well on release and wouldn't be gated behind waiting for future characters similar to Chisa. Now that aside, and focusing on the fact that she is going to be a ranged DPS with potential to have some of the most chaotic abilities given her design, which means it would allow Lynae to be comfortable but at the same time extremely fun to play. Graffiti effects through her abilities is definitely something to expect, but now with the drip marketing showing off Lynae leaning against a bike, it either hints at the new traversal mechanic within Lahai Roy or the fact that she is going to use it within combat. Either way, the game and Lynae's playstyle is likely going to feel completely fresh, and especially with these new designs, which if you are a fan of, once again with the fact Lynae is releasing as the face of version 3.0, it means you couldn't go wrong since she will certainly hold a lot of value. More into the sort of team synergies to expect alongside Lynae's versatility, as of now it really seems like Lynae isn't intended to synergize with any of the current Spectral resonators. Like I mentioned, the Spectral Frazzle duo still performs extremely well, and with Genshin in specific, there could be some synergy given Lynae could amplify Spectral damage via the outro skill, but given she is Spectral, it wouldn't be the best for Genshin accumulating stacks for her forte. So again, it seems like Lynae is going to specialize in playing alongside an upcoming Spectral unit. But till then, and if she has a burst damage playstyle, it means there will be some characters she can synergize with in the meantime, such as Changli, Phrolova, or even Phoebe, since each of them don't take up much field time and provide incredible value through their DPS and supportive capabilities. Of course, those options are a bit more general, and so with being a bit more specific based off speculation, if Lynae ends up dealing either basic attack damage or resonant skill damage, which are looking to be the most probable damage types, there would be various amplifiers for both resonant skill damage and basic attack damage that can provide great value. Perhaps it's even worth mentioning that Bu Ling could provide solid value considering she currently does seem to hold a few supportive capabilities, but that will depend on whether she does amplify the certain damage type Lynae will deal the most. Overall, it looks like Lynae is going to be a burst damage dealer with some supportive capabilities such as amplifying Spectral damage, which means her best in slot synergies may not be available till later on. So with that said, her versatility and compositions could be a bit restricted on release if you're looking to maximize her abilities, but she should still be viable due to her DPS potential and will ultimately hold solid longevity. Now, with Mornye releasing in a second phase, somehow, someway, it has been confirmed that she is going to be a fusion Broadblade character. So yet another fusion resonator when we do already have the monofusion composition and Galbrenna that released not too long ago. But also the fact Carlotta is still going to remain as the last Glacier unit we did receive. So Mornye being a fusion resonator is definitely something that wasn't really expected. But even with that, it doesn't change the fact that she is going to be a top tier character. Additionally, the fact that she is likely going to be a negative status unit also remains, since it would be difficult to see Mornye as anything else within the current state of fusion. Now, with the fusion burst mechanic, 10 stacks in total can be inflicted, and once reaching maximum stacks on an enemy, it will deal a burst of AoE damage. The higher the stacks, the more damage that will be dealt, which of course means when alongside Chisa, it will lead to even more stacks being inflicted and greater damage dealt. So pretty similar to characters such as Phoebe and Ciaccona that inflict negative statuses through their abilities, Mornye seems like she will be pretty similar in terms of abilities and the value she holds. It's fair to believe that she will be capable of dealing solid damage, but it's more likely that Mornye is going to turn out as a sub DPS / support that mainly focuses on inflicting fusion burst and will support the fusion burst main DPS that releases soon after. Even more so if Lynae is capable of dealing great damage and being utilized as a main DPS, it probably wouldn't be the greatest idea to have two main DPS characters in the exact same version update. So with that, Mornye will likely be able to provide support such as buffs towards her allies to increase attack and possibly fusion damage, alongside perhaps additional sustainability such as healing. Now this would of course make her quite similar to Brant in terms of being a sub DPS with supportive capabilities, but with the fact that she is going to be a fusion burst resonator does set her aside and allow for both characters to be relevant within the meta. So like with previous negative status sub DPS characters, Mornye does hold a lot of long-term value and potential to have quite a stacked kit. Finishing up with some team synergies to consider, it's pretty obvious that Mornye is going to be intended to be utilized alongside a fusion resonator that will release later in the 3.x version updates. Specifically, one that will be similar to Cartethyia and Zani, which will deal damage considered as fusion burst damage. Alongside that, it's pretty obvious that Chisa is going to be the best support given she is tailored for negative status compositions. So as mentioned, she will allow for more fusion burst stacks to be inflicted, and when paired alongside the Havoc Bane stacks reducing defense, it is going to allow Chisa and Mornye to work extremely well together alongside the fusion burst main DPS. However, till then, it's reasonable to consider slotting Mornye alongside a few other characters due to her supportive capabilities, such as most fusion characters, and could be utilized as an alternative within the monofusion composition. Alongside Brant, she would of course provide even more sustainability, but she could also be used as a replacement if she is able to provide healing or any other means of sustainability to her allies. Additionally, with the fact that she is able to inflict stacks of fusion burst, it's still going to lead to considerable damage being dealt, which means Mornye is going to contribute towards dealing damage for the team alongside providing support. Lastly, and depending on the exact buff she provides, Mornye could be utilized in various compositions outside of the fusion composition. Exactly which one would only be confirmed closer to her release, but with the fact that she could provide additional sustainability alone, it means she can be utilized as an alternative support for a lot of different compositions, which ultimately leads to having great versatility and long-term value as a negative status resonator. Overall, with the fact these are once again our version 3.0 characters, there is no doubt they are going to be extremely valuable and likely will introduce a few new abilities or mechanics that we will learn about closer to their release. Between them, it boils down to Lynae possibly being more of a main DPS and sub DPS with potential to amplify spectral damage, whereas Mornye is going to be a negative status unit that inflicts stacks of fusion burst on enemies and provides a few other supportive capabilities through her kit. So in terms of overall value, it seems like Mornye will hold the most due to being more of a support and can fill in that niche as a fusion burst sub DPS. It's also worth mentioning, if you are especially someone that picked up Chisa and are looking to gain the most out of her, then it would be ideal to consider Mornye due to the negative status synergy. However, for certain players, Lynae might just be the better choice, since if you're desperate for more of a damage dealer to clear through content, alongside perhaps don't really have any spectral damage dealers and may simply be interested in the new mechanics and abilities Lynae does possess, she would then of course provide more value to your account. So essentially, as I mentioned, both characters would of course be great to pick up since they each provide fantastic value. But with your account in mind, you would just need to consider whether you do need a Spectrum main DPS/sub DPS or a negative status unit with the Fusion Burst mechanic. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Would really appreciate it if you could subscribe for more WutheringWaves content, and if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. Also, drop a comment down below on who are you looking forward to the most between Lynae and Mornye. And yeah, hope to catch you guys later.